Thankful November. Hi, this is Pam Haverlock at Cozy Living Interiors and Boutique. This month, the entire store is 15% off, and our fall is now 30% off. We are giving a recliner away to a veteran in honor of Veterans Day being in November. All the veteran has to do is come into the store and register. No purchase necessary. The drawing is Tuesday, November 30th at 5 p.m. We are located 235 Northville Drive, right next to the bowling alley, here in Princeton, where everything a home should be.
This is Hub. We are your local U-Haul dealer.
It's almost time for a Christmas open house.
Christmas will be here before you know it. And this Saturday, you can get ready for the holidays. Area local businesses are offering you a chance to shop early and be ready. Get the first choice of holiday gifts, decor, and specials. Come out this Saturday and get a head start on the holidays.
Brought to you by the Black Patch Grill, the Tin Roof, Brandley Furniture, and Cozy Living Interiors and Boutique.
If you really enjoy the stories you hear on Traveling the Bluegrass, we'd like to invite you to listen to the whole visit uncut. Just type youragadge.com into your browser. You'll find Traveling the Bluegrass uncut stories in long form, so you don't miss a thing. You'll also find lots of ag news and farm pictures from across the Commonwealth. You can also find all the Kentucky communities that Traveling the Bluegrass can be found. Remember to visit youragadge.com.
WPKY News Edge is committed to keep you informed. Each weekday, they'll email you the top news and sports story of the day for free. No subscription fee. To sign up, click on the News tab at WPKYOnline.com to sign up today. Sign up and receive these information updates for free to your email inbox. To sign up, click on the News tab at WPKYOnline.com.
Been to Big Deal Store yet? Go to WPKYOnline.com and click on Loyal Listener Big Deals. The other day, I redeemed a gift certificate on my smartphone. It was so easy. Thanks to Loyal Listener Big Deals, I found new places to eat, have fun, take the family out, and get my car fixed. With Loyal Listener Big Deals, you can save money and try new businesses. Go to WPKYOnline.com. But you better hurry. You never know how long each deal will last.
It's time for your SportsEdge.com Sideline Report with Todd Griffin. Talking sports and more here on 1580, 103.3 WPKY and worldwide at WPKYOnline.com. Here's your host, Todd Griffin.
It's a frosty morning in Princeton. Good Thursday morning, everyone. The Sideline Report is on the air from 1035 West Main Street in Princeton. This is Todd Griffin of WPKY Radio and your SportsEdge.com. Thanks for tuning in this morning. Got another big show lined up for everyone. First of all, WPKY's own sportscaster, Bob Hayes, is in the studio with us this morning. And Bob, good morning. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Todd. Glad to be here.
Yeah, thanks for braving the cold. Winter got here.
My car just was getting warm as I pulled into the station.
Also with us on the phone this morning is Atlanta Braves fan Chris George. And Chris, where are you at today, and are you still celebrating?
I am looking at St. Pete Beach right now, Todd.
Oh, wow.
And I am still celebrating, so I'm sorry you and Bob are cold, but it's not that cold here.
Yeah, it is cold today. It took me a little extra time to get to work today. Came in a few minutes late, so, we're just catching up right here as we get going on the show this morning. But Chris, I did want to say congratulations to the Atlanta Braves for getting that World Series championship, and I know you even got to take in at least one of those World Series games.
Yeah, I got to go to Game 3 last Friday, and it was absolutely amazing and just a memorable experience. I'm still in awe of. I've been to a lot of baseball games, but a World Series game is just a little bit different, and it was amazing. And I was cautiously optimistic until they recorded the last out, because I knew the Astros bats were probably going to come alive any minute, and the Braves had just enough pitching to get it done.
Well, and Major League Baseball has kind of become just get to the playoffs and then get hot. And Atlanta seemed to get hot late in the season and just kind of rode that on into the playoffs.
Absolutely, they did. made some great trade deadline trades. I'll be honest, guys, I was ready to pack it in when Acuna tore his ACL right before the trade deadline. I was like, be sellers, sell all of anything of value, including Freddie Freeman, and hope you can re-sign him and restock the farm. But, the GM went out and made some great trades and brought in Jorge Solar, Eddie Rosario, Jock Peterson, and, that was the core outfield for that second half run and that run to the World Series championship. And it was just a great thing, especially when you don't expect it.
Yeah, at the All-Star break, the Braves were 44-45, I believe. And, Bob, I think just the second team ever to have a losing record at the All-Star break and come back and win the World Series.
I think that's right, Todd. The thing about Atlanta was for so long they would win one, lose two, win two, lose one, and they could not creep back over the 500 mark until late in August. And I mean in early August, they were able to creep back over, and those three trades that Gary mentioned were huge. Obviously, Soler was the most valuable player in the World Series, so a great move by the general manager for the Braves.
Well, and I think you might be familiar with the other team that had a losing record at the All-Star break and won the World Series.
Absolutely, and I still can't believe what the deal was with the Cardinals letting Mike Schilt go. I'm still interested in reading some of that, although maybe a difference of opinion is what I've been reading, but what was the difference?
I'm not really sure. I think there was just, I think analytics has become a big key word, and maybe Chris can talk about that a little bit too, but I think Schilt was kind of an old school, go by your gut guy, and I think the St. Louis Cardinals are wanting to move into more of the analytical route. And Chris, is that kind of something the Braves do?
Well, that's funny you say that, Todd. They, one of the things, because I watched every post-game show after they won just to take it all in, and they were talking about how Snedeker really doesn't use a lot of analytics, and the Braves have the oldest coaching staff in Major League Baseball, and they still do a lot of things old school. Because I think the shift is ruining baseball. I hate the shift, and you can only do so much in matchups, and sometimes you just got to send your best guy out there and say, go get somebody out. And if you look at what happened in the playoffs, the Braves trusted their three primary relievers and said, get us to the sixth inning, and Matzik, Mentor, and Smith are going to get you out.
Well, we were talking about the other team that won the World Series after having a losing record at the break. I believe it was the 64 Cardinals. I think I saw that someplace. So, that's kind of interesting because even at the St. Louis Cardinals this season, you look at that team and it made the playoffs, even though it had some holes on the team, some places it needs to improve. But I look at the Cardinals and maybe even the Braves a little bit. If not for the expanded playoffs, I think the Cardinals pack it in at the All-Star break and make some moves and start playing for next season. Were the Braves kind of in that boat at some point, like it was, hey, maybe it's time to prepare for next season, but hey, wait a minute, now you've got all these extra playoff spots. We need to keep going.
Well, I think the thing that kept the Braves in it was the division that was supposed to be one of the best divisions in baseball. A lot of people had high hopes for the Mets and the Phillies, and you can never count the Nationals out because they, at the time, had so much talent. Of course, they sold off everything at the trade deadline to restock. But I think the thing that helped the Braves and kept them in it is, like Bob said, they were all win a game, lose two, win two, lose one, and they were all, with the exception of the Marlins, they were all lumped right there together within a game or two of each other, and nobody pulled away. So you really couldn't give up on it because you were within 3 or 4 games of the division.
Well, I felt before the Braves made the postseason run that about 1 out of every 4 people I knew was a Braves fan. But Bob, during the run, I think about 80% of the people I know became Braves fans.
I think that's always the case, Todd. So it just seems like that happens year after year after year. And like if somebody saw a game and that stadium held 60,000 people, 15 years later, people numbering in the hundreds of thousands saw that game. It's how things get trumped up.
But not Chris, though. I can confirm that Chris is not a bandwagon jumper. he's been with the Braves all along, right?
All along. Thanks to WTBS.
Yes,
Absolutely, yes.
A lot of people grew up that way. I think you have a lot of people. Of course, a lot of people in this area are Cardinals fans just because of the proximity to St. Louis, and St. Louis has typically been pretty good through the years. But you have a lot of people that are Braves fans because of Superstation TBS back in the day. You have a lot of people that are Cubs fans because every game was on WGN back in the day.
And the other thing, getting back to the Braves, when I was a kid, my two favorite teams were the Cardinals and the Braves when the Braves were in Milwaukee, because they seemingly had a West Kentucky connection with Phil Roof and Eddie Haas and Red Shane Dinks having played some ball down in Union City, and Hank Aaron, of course, and Dale Crandall, Eddie Matthews. I could go on and on.
Well, Chris, I just wanted to get you on today and give you a chance to talk about the season because, like I said, I know just by looking at Facebook and Twitter, there are a lot of Braves fans in the area, and you guys were kind of waiting for this one.
We've been waiting a while, and David Wilhelm called me, and David went to the clinching game, Game 6 of the championship series. He was there for that one as well. And I was like, no, I can't go to that one. I had something else going on that day, and I said I can't go to that one. But when they made the World Series, we were on the phone Sunday plotting and planning, and through a colleague of mine was able to get the pre-sale code for tickets, so we were able to secure very good tickets for market value instead of having to pay StubHub value. But I can tell you guys, we were willing to pay whatever we had to pay to be there for Game 3.
Well, when you go to the World Series, is it just a wall of people?
Oh, it was. It was crazy. I've been to the Braves Field many times, and I've never seen a crowd that wild. You couldn't move. You couldn't walk from one end of the concourse to the other. It was just people everywhere. And it was amazing. I mean, I've been to the Super Bowl, and the Super Bowl is a festivity all to its own, but it had nothing on World Series baseball. It was electric.
Well, I know when the Cardinals have a playoff game or even sometimes a big series during the season, St. Louis is electric. You can't go any place without somebody saying something about the Cardinals. I'm guessing Atlanta's kind of that way too.
I mean, it was like you couldn't. And they kept the Astro fans out for the most part, which is always a good thing for the home team to limit the number of visiting fans that get in. But you just saw people of all ages experiencing this. You saw fathers and sons, and some of them were fathers that are my age with their, that have a kid and had their kid. But then you saw guys my age with their dad. So, it was sons and mothers. It was just, you could tell everybody was so excited, and you saw a lot of people with their 95 World Series gear on, hats and shirts and jackets. It was, I've never been to a Major League Baseball game quite like that.
Did you empty the bank account to get shirts and caps and all those good things?
Guys, I will tell you, I had to order all of my souvenirs for the game offline because David and I stood in line for an hour to get into the clubhouse store. And after an hour, we gave in.
Oh, wow.
And some people, I think, stood in line several hours. Every store, the big clubhouse store, even the little small satellite clubhouse stores, lines were at least an hour and a half long.
Well, Bob, how do we get in on that next year with the Cardinals? I mean, I think things are looking up for the Cardinals for next season, but you have to kind of catch that magic late in the season.
Exactly, and I hope we go on our 17, 18-game winning streak a little earlier next year than we did this year, which obviously was the only way we got to be in the mix toward the end of the season. Chris, I got a question. Going through Atlanta, as I have several times since they built the new stadium, what was the traffic like around that stadium? Because you almost can't find an exit to get off at the park unless you travel 2 or 3 miles further down the road, or what? Is it a bad traffic situation in that area?
The traffic was nuts. We actually were fortunate enough. The hotel where we stayed, we got to get off and exit before the stadium and go out into the perimeter area, and we made a decision to Uber to the game because we thought, one, we don't know what the traffic's going to be like. Two, you don't know how much it's going to cost to park. Three, you don't know how far you're going to have to walk. So we Ubered to the game and Ubered back. Now, I will tell you the traffic was so bad post-game, we probably had to walk a mile and a half away from the stadium so an Uber could get to us. I mean, we were standing out in some random businesses parking lot waiting for the Uber to come and get us.
They were standing out in Macon.
It wasn't moving.
Well, congratulations to you guys, World Series title, and next year I hope my Cardinals can kind of get in on some of that stuff too.
I just hope it doesn't take another 22 years.
Absolutely.
Chris George and Bob Hayes both with us today. Chris joining us on the phone. Bob's here in the studio with us. Need to get to a break here on the Sideline Report, but we'll continue with more right after this here on 1580, 103.3 WPKY.
Life is filled with moments we share with those we love, worry about, and strive to protect the most. At Woodman Life, we provide life insurance and retirement products to help protect you and your family so that you can enjoy all the moments to come.
This is Josh Ray, your local Woodman Life agent. Come see us at 1009 West Main Street or give us a call at 365-6111.
Certain eligibility and age restrictions apply. Woodman of the World Life Insurance Society, Omaha, Nebraska.
Get into shape and feel good at Trilogy Performance Sports. Trilogy offers a wide range of family-friendly classes as well as personal training, yoga, gymnastics, sports training, cardio, and weightlifting. Trilogy has something for everyone. Trilogy now offers an app with online workouts, live classes, nutrition tracking, and more. Search Trilogy Performance Sports in your app store. Use sign-up code 1824. For app info and more, follow them on Facebook.
Imagine this. It's late at night, it's cold and dark, and you have a flat tire. One never knows when old Bessie's gonna cause you problems. There's only one place to call, Wallace Towing and Recovery in Princeton. Wallace Towing and Recovery is a 24/7 towing and recovery service. You can count on Wallace Towing and Recovery to get you safe and back on the road or to a repair shop. Wallace Towing and Recovery will jumpstart your vehicle, change a tire, deliver gas, unlock a door, or haul it to the garage or scrapyard. Wallace Towing and Recovery has you covered in Princeton and surrounding areas. Call Wallace Towing and Recovery. Check them out on Facebook, and when you need a tow or roadside help, call Wallace Towing and Recovery at 270-963-9081.
Caldwell County is a special place in western Kentucky, featuring beautiful tracts of land. Even though the real estate market is always in a constant state of change, Bollinger Real Estate and Auction understands this and is ready to work for you.
Hi, my name is Ben Bollinger with Bollinger Real Estate and Auction. Whether it's a property valuation or time to sell, Bollinger's team is dedicated to work for you. Real estate solutions with a passion for people.
I'd love nothing better than to put a home-cooked meal on my table every night for my family. But let's get real. I just don't have the time or the energy. Thank goodness for Homemade by Hancock's. Mallory and her staff take the time to make delicious meals that I can pick up while shopping. On those nights, I just can't make dinner happen. Hancock's makes it happen. They save me time. My family and I thank you. Hancock's Neighborhood Market.
Hancock's, we make time for you.
We are back on the Sideline Report at 1580, 103.3 WPKY. WPKY sportscaster Bob Hayes with us in the studio this morning. Caldwell County Stat Crew member Chris George with us on the phone. Talk some baseball this morning. Now time to talk a little football. The Caldwell County Tigers heading to Murray Friday night for Class 2A First District playoff action. And we do want to remind you that our C3 Power lineman of the game was chosen for the big win over at Trigg County last week, and that's Gavin Board. So Gavin Board joins the list of C3 Power lineman of the game this season. Of course, technically it's his second award because the entire line was honored after the big shutout win down at Crittenden County. The Power Lineman is brought to you by C3 Electric, selling and servicing Generac generators, new construction, remodels, and more. With over 24 years experience, you can trust C3 Electric for quality service and installation. Again, the C3 power lineman of the game for the big win over at Trigg County was Gavin Board. And Bob talked to Coach Will Barnes this week, and he said the Trigg County game was maybe one of the most balanced and best overall efforts of the team so far this season.
And I would agree with that, Todd. The play was just fantastic, and if that game goes another quarter, we score 3 more touchdowns, I believe. We had them worn down. We were getting stronger and executing, and a good ball game going into our game tomorrow night.
Yeah, the Tigers will be heading down to Murray, and some of the parents are going to try to send off the football team in style on Friday. People are being asked to come out with signs and line Beckner Lane as the Tiger bus is taking off. And so that's a good chance to get out there if you're a Tiger fan and show your support. The bus is going to leave around 4:30, so you'll need to get out there and get in line and have your sign ready and show the Tigers some support as they go down to Murray and try to end what is a 4-game playoff losing streak against the Murray Tigers.
And I think that send-off, Todd, will certainly boost the spirits of these young men. I know that seemingly always works when you have a send-off going out of town, or in this case, leaving the school property. So a great move on the parents' part.
Yeah, Chris, a pretty good season for the Tigers at 7-3. I think when we saw those first 2 scrimmages and even the season opener against Christian County, we were wondering where we were going to find 7 wins this season, but the team was able to come through and looking pretty good heading into the playoffs.
You know, they really did. You know, you, Gary, and myself had a lot of conversation after the first couple of scrimmages, and notably the Christian game, and really wondered how they were going to score touchdowns. And they found, you know, Coach Barnes found a way to scheme up offense and they can score some touchdowns. And we always knew from the beginning it was going to be a stingy defense, and it's proven to be a stingy defense. And I think they've just done a fantastic job. But I'll say this about, you know, it's terrible. You go out and win your big game, one of your 2 big game district games, and because of an RPI that none of us really understand, and Gary is probably one of the smartest people I know when it comes to mathematics.
And he's got the slide rule too, Chris.
Figure out how this RPI works, and we end up having to go back to Murray. It's a travesty.
Yeah, well, Murray got the big win down at Mayfield, so that kind of boosted them a little bit. If you go in and look at the numbers, though, on the KHSAA site, it's kind of 3 components. It's your winning percentage. However, that is altered a little bit depending on the classification of the teams you beat. You get more of a bump for beating a 6A or a 5A school than you do a 1A or a 2A. It's also your opponent's winning percentage and the winning percentage of your opponent's opponents. Well, Caldwell won 2 of those. You know, Caldwell opponents have a better winning percentage than Murray's. The opponents have a better winning percentage, but because Murray was 7-2 and Caldwell was 7-3, Murray had just enough of an advantage in the winning percentage to edge Caldwell overall for the RPI. And that's exactly everything I know about the RPI.
That's about 5 minutes worth more than I know about it.
Well, it's so close.
More than I know, Bob.
Yeah. But it is a shame that you just come down to percentage points. And I'll admit, it does seem a little unfair that Caldwell went to Murray, won a ball game down there, and now has to turn around and go back in the playoffs. But, Chris, don't you think that's something the team can use as a little extra motivation if you need it this time of year, that, hey, this should be our home game, we're having to go down there. Well, let's go and show everybody it doesn't matter where we play.
And, you know, I really expect the coaches to use that as motivation with the players, and, you know, knowing that you can go down there and win a ball game. And that's just, you know, but the only thing that concerns me about this time of year with a team like Murray, I believe as the weather gets colder, teams like Murray that want to control the ball and grind it out and the weather gets bad, it starts to favor them, just a slightly favor them as the weather gets colder and the weather gets bad. But you know, you got to go out and take care of your business.
Well, the one thing I really like about this team, because a lot of us sit here and talk about the early season struggles and, wow, it's a great season being 7-3. Those guys don't really talk that way. You know, if you talk to the players, Bob, they're still upset that they lost 3 games. They don't look at it like, hey, look at the great season we had. They thought they should win those games and be flying into the playoffs right now.
That's what you want your players to feel, Todd, is that kind of looking back and not being happy with the 7, hoping that would have been 8, 9, or 10. But getting back to what Chris was saying, at least we don't have to worry about rain, I think, tomorrow night, Chris, as we had to worry about 2 weeks ago. And I think with both teams having a ground attack, I think the weather doesn't favor either team in that we're not going to throw the ball that much, and they're certainly not going to throw it unless they get behind. They threw no passes against Mayfield, even in trailing in that game. They threw no passes, so it's going to line up and play smash mouth.
I think against us, they actually threw the ball 7 times, but most of that was late, and the 2 touchdowns kind of came in desperation time. And if you go back and look at the film, one of those touchdowns should not have been a touchdown because the kid stepped out of bounds twice. Didn't turn out to really matter that much. My point being, though, that Murray doesn't want to throw the ball. They just hit a couple of big plays late because it was kind of desperation time.
And we didn't really, especially on the last touchdown pass where you noted we thought the kid had gone out of bounds. That happened on our side of the field by the press box, but that was something that it looked like we didn't know. We saw the ball, but we couldn't react to it.
Well, just having seen both teams now, when you watched Caldwell County and Murray the first time, just from the eye test, forgetting the stats, I thought Caldwell was the better team.
And they grounded out. I know in talking to Coach Barnes, and he mentioned this several times, that Murray's going to make some big plays. We have to assume that's going to happen. But we thought that might come in the ground game, and it didn't in that game. I don't know, as we were talking yesterday, Todd, I don't think their longest run was more than 15, 20 yards at best.
I don't remember a real long one. Now, at the end of the game, the stats kind of skewed toward Murray, but again, they had a 73-yard touchdown pass and a 76-yard touchdown pass in the final 5 minutes of the game that kind of pushed the stats the other way. Other than that, statistically, it was pretty even. If you go back and look, turnovers were a big part of that game. Murray had 4, Caldwell had 1, and I think if you talk to the coaches and the players, they would go back to that Murray game and say, hey, we left a lot of points on the table because we had field position most of the night.
Exactly. It seemed like we played in their end of the field at least 3.5 or probably 3/4 anyway, 2.5 for sure.
Chris, you're the defensive stat keeper, and we've talked about this before. Man, those turnovers sure do make a difference. And if you look at the stats, Caldwell has forced 31 turnovers this year, and in the 9 games actually played, 1 win was a forfeit. That's about 3.5 turnovers a game the Tiger defense is forcing.
Turnovers dictate how the game is played, and if you can be +2, +3 in the turnover margin, you have a lot of margin for error offensively because you know you're going to steal a possession here or possession there, especially if you can still get a turnover and start in plus territory. And I didn't get to make the first Murray game, and it sounds like from what Bob said, not only did we get some turnovers, we were able to start in plus territory. And when you get a short field, it just makes a lot of difference in the way the football game is played. And it makes the other defense, it puts a lot of stress on them because they have 0 margin for error if you're starting in plus territory. One big play, especially in high school football, when you got a field goal kicker, one big play and you get inside, if you start in plus territory and you get one sustained drive or one big play, now you're in danger of putting up some points. So you put a lot of stress on the defense. And I've thought from the scrimmages to start the season that the Tigers were going to be able to lean on this defense. That front 3 they have in Long, Shaheen, and Davis, they are phenomenal. They can get pressure on the quarterback on a passing team, but also all 3 of them are great at stuffing the run, and I think that allows the Tigers back into their defense to really get a lot of things done because they know that front 3 is going to dominate the line of scrimmage.
One thing that I'm really interested to look at this week, when we've played Murray in the past, we seem to have had success during the regular season, but then can't match it again in the postseason, and Murray usually wins the rematch. and it's because Murray typically makes a few adjustments that maybe we didn't quite see coming. Interesting to see if that happens this year because, Chris, you always talk about a team kind of being vanilla if you know you're going to play somebody again, but I don't get the feeling this Murray team does that. I think they have a new coach, and he has a system, and now he may have a few wrinkles off of a few plays here and there, but I don't see Murray coming out and doing anything different than what they've been doing all year, which is line up and run the football.
Well, they, like Gary said, they rope-a-doped us a couple of times in the past where previous coaching staffs came out very vanilla, showed us a few things, and then came out and just completely did some different things in the playoffs. But I think their attack being very ground-based, and from what you all, the stats say, they're just not going to come out and start throwing the ball all over the place. I believe what you see is what you get from them. And like I said, I think what they do plays well against our defense, plays well against that. You're going to have to get in there, and you're not going to move that front three around a lot, and they're going to be in your backfield, and they're going to put some stress on your running game. They're not going to get gashed and allow the linebackers and the safeties to make some plays for you. And, once again, a team like Murray that wants to run, the biggest thing you can do is get a couple of big defensive plays, get a couple of scores, and put some pressure on them and make them do things they don't want to do. Because if they have to start doing things they don't want to do, they're more apt to make an error.
Yeah, you want to get a little separation there and get a bit of a lead. Of course, Bob, the thing that scares you with a team like Murray is that they'll take an 8-minute drive and score. You go 3 and out. They have the ball 8 minutes and score. Now you're down 14-0, and you're midway through the second quarter, and you've run 3 plays, and the scoreboard says 14-0 the other guys.
And that's the scary part of a rushing offense is that fact can happen. But a point that Gary made just a few minutes ago, and really is what won the game for us. We got in position to score points from via the field goal. And I don't know that Murray has that capability, certainly from not the distance that Blake Vivrette has the ability to make field goals, and that can make a team kind of back up a little bit and feel like they're playing from behind, especially when you tack on 2 field goals. And we had a chance to tack on another one that I just barely missed in that game. So. But yeah, field position is going to be critical, and you said we had 4 turnovers in that game. We actually had 5. We didn't get credit, but for 4.
You're right. We had a fumble that we got early in the game that
the
officials just didn't see, and that was one of those crazy points I was going to kind of bring up and had forgotten about. By going to Murray, this means Murray gets to wear their home jerseys, which are black. Their pants are black. Well, the football's kind of dark too. Well, quarterback down there, Rowdy Sokolowski, does a great job of hiding the football, and I understand why the officials didn't see the ball because, that's part of the Murray game plan, hide that thing. If they had to come here, they would have to wear white jerseys. So my contention is that it's easier to hide the ball against those black jerseys than it would be if they were here wearing white jerseys.
Well, I think our players saw the ball better than the officials in that game, Todd. But, we were just played a great defensive game. They were worn out. Basically, I know the Sokolowskis in that game carried the ball between them 35 times, only 150 yards. So they were beat down on every play.
Hey, Chris, am I off base on the jersey color thing, or do you think that actually has an impact on the game?
Well, I can see it definitely has an impact on the game because you get a dirty, gummy football that's starting to get worn, and we've all seen the dirty, gummy footballs that are really dark colored, and you put them up against a black jersey, and they're probably wearing black gloves as well. It could definitely be hard to see.
Yeah, I used to think Webster County did that over at their place. They wore the maroon on maroon, and it's dark over there anyway, so you couldn't see the football. And Heath was another school that, like I said, kind of one of those things I always look at, but Heath would wear black on black when you got down there, and when you were looking long ways, there's no lights in the end zone. So if you're out there, if you're the quarterback for the Tigers trying to throw the football, you can't see the other team because they're camouflaged because they're wearing black on black with a dark background.
Well, and the lighting isn't that great at Murray either. It's not.
We're talking this morning with Chris George and Bob Hayes here on the Sideline Report. A lot of sports going on right now, so lots to talk about. Need to get to a break here on the show, but we'll come back and have more with them right after this here on 1580, 103.3 WPKY.
Your WPKY Weather Edge Weather Center forecast is brought to you by Fredonia Valley Bank.
From the Weather Edge Weather Center, freeze warning in effect until 9 o'clock this morning. Frost around the area. Otherwise, sunshine today with a high 53. Clear skies tonight, low 27, 56 and sunshine for Friday, 60 and sunshine on Saturday. Once again, that freeze warning in effect until 9 o'clock this morning for the entire area. Frost around the area, then sunshine with a high near 53.
Trice Hughes has been serving Western Kentucky for over 60 years. Their experienced sales force, ASE certified techs, and all the friendly folks at Trice Hughes have worked to become your family's exclusive automotive dealer. The home team that's kept our families safe on the road for generations. From work to play and everything in between, your home team has what you need. Stop by and drive the difference. Our home team, Trice Hughes, Highway 91 North in Princeton.
Fortner Gas is a full-service propane company offering services in Western Kentucky. You'll find offices located in Princeton and Cadiz. They're your local and family-owned propane supplier. Browse their website and discover the many services and products available to you at Fortner Gas. You can shop in person or online, and they can answer any and all questions in person or on the phone. If they are already your propane supplier, they say thank you. If not, they'd love to be. Contact Fortner Gas Company, a family tradition of service since 1951.
Back on the Sideline Report at 1580, 103.3 WPKY. Thanks for tuning in this morning. We've got Chris George on the phone with us this morning. Bob Hayes is in the studio with us. And guys, just one more comment on the uniform thing. And, you know, maybe I took this too far. Maybe it's a bigger deal or not as big a deal as I'm making it. But I've always thought the perfect football uniform, Bob, would be green uniforms with white horizontal stripes.
So you're talking about Oregon now.
Well, you just blend in with the field. You know, all people would see is green and stripes. So you would just blend in. It's kind of like Boise State, Chris. You know, they wear all blue uniforms and they have a blue field. How can you see them?
I mean, I'll agree with that, but you know, my favorite uniform combination is a gold helmet with a gold jersey and gold pants.
Yeah, I'm not sure we're going to see that anytime soon. I remember the banana look back in the day a few times for the Tigers, but right now I guess we're wearing the blue pants all the time. So we might get there one day, though. It'll be interesting to see. Football Tigers at Murray this week. Game time 7 o'clock Friday night, first-round playoff action. There are a couple of area teams playing playoff games tonight. Union County is at home against Webster County. Christian County is at South Warren. And, Bob, I think they're playing some of these Thursday games because we're kind of short on officials. And if you can play on a Thursday, you kind of alleviate the number of officials you need for Friday night. But one thing we've talked about the last few years is a 7-man officiating crew as opposed to a 5-man crew. And, of course, Caldwell County always wants 7. But I'm thinking at Murray Friday night, we probably only get 5.
For sure. I know that for a fact. We only will have 5 tomorrow night.
So with both teams running the ball more now, I'm not sure that's that big a deal. When Caldwell County was throwing the ball 35 or 40 times a game, that did make a big difference for them.
Well, the 2 extra people on the floor means 4 eyes and the ability to pick things up that you know, some refs may be feeling they have to cover for 2 spots, and that I think takes away from performance maybe from time to time.
Well, and maybe Chris can talk about this some too. Chris, I think when most teams ran the football, 5 officials on the field were plenty, but now that you see teams go to the spread offense and try to throw the ball around, there aren't enough eyes with a 5-man crew to watch all those receivers and what might be going on with the defense.
Well, and that's exactly why you, with so many teams running spread offenses and air raid attacks and throwing the ball, when you have those 2 deep wings, it alleviates some of that holding that goes on because now your head linesman and your side judge are able to watch that intermediate. You've got those 2 deep wings to watch those deep routes, and you don't have to put a lot of stress on your back judge. And, you know, there is an official shortage, and I have been known to complain about high school football officiating. in the past, but a lot of those guys that end up running the back judge position really aren't athletic enough to keep up with, and I've tried to say that as politely as I could, aren't athletic enough to keep up with some of these young guys that can run past them, and you see back judges get beat and things happen that, and then you get pass interferences not called deep down the field because a back judge gets beat in a 5-man system. In a 7-man, that doesn't happen as often because you've got a deep wing to kind of help with that. But also, another thing that ends up happening is sometimes you will see a back judge trying to prevent getting beat deep, both in 5-man and 7-man, work way too deep. I'm talking 35, 40 yards off the ball to keep from getting beat so they get a head start, but then they have to miss other stuff. So the 7-man crew, if we can get more people out officiating, really makes it for a better product.
Well, and a perfect example is Murray's second touchdown down there the first time around when Caldwell won 20-14, had a 20-0 lead. Murray scored twice late. If there are 7 officials out there, there's a guy, Johnny, on the spot down there, 5 yards away from that play to see the kid step out of bounds twice and to mark the ball at either the 5 or the 6, one or the other. With only 4-man crew out there, or 5-man crew, the only guy that was anywhere close to that play was the back judge, and he tried to mark it out of bounds, but the guy that was on the Murray sideline came down the field and overruled him and called it a touchdown. So always better, I guess, Bob, to have more eyes out there to watch everything than to not have those guys.
Well, I think in my case, Todd, having seen a lot of games the last 3 or 4 years, I think the 7-man crew certainly is certainly the ultimate, because I remarked last week against Trigg County, the refs are out of position to know where to spot the ball on several occasions. I mean, you can lose a couple yards because they're not down the field quick enough to see where the ball actually went out of bounds or went down or what. So, that's just what Chris alluded to. They're not very athletic at times, having to cover a lot of space.
Well, there are a lot of things they have to watch. You have to watch a lot of things. You have a lot of responsibilities at the line. Then you have to get down the field and mark the football. So that's why if you have a 7-man crew, to me, the entire administration of the game just runs so much more smoothly.
Especially with things like the importance of the game. You want to be right on all your calls, and you want to be in the best position you can be on all of your calls.
Again, Caldwell at Murray this week. Friday night, 7 o'clock kickoff at historic Ty Holland Stadium, which also is part of the baseball complex down there. And thank goodness, because in the rain the last time we headed down there, Gary and I took shelter in the third base dugout, and that's where we did the halftime show from down there. So hopefully not that problem this week, but it is going to be chilly. So if you're going to the game, you do want to dress warmly. Staying with football, but changing gears just a little bit. Chris, what were your thoughts on the UK loss down at Mississippi State, and where do the UK football Cats go from here?
Well, a lot of people, and Bob's a season ticket holder just like myself, a lot of people were down on the Cats, those bandwagon fans who jump on the bandwagon when things are going good and then become the negative Nancy's when things start going bad. We've got that part of the UK football fan base that's just waiting for something to go bad so they can have something to complain about. I think Mississippi State is what I call sneaky good. They come out, sometimes they have a good game, sometimes they come out and have a bad game, but that's not a bad football team. And they exposed the weakness, and I'm interested to hear Bob's comments on this, but they exposed the weakness that anybody that knows anything about football and knows anything about Kentucky's current roster makeup, they exposed the weakness that we knew was there that no one had been able to expose yet. We've got 3 cornerbacks, and that's it.
Exactly, Chris.
And they exposed that.
And I kept thinking in that game, we kept refusing to change our pass coverage and would let Mississippi State have 4, 5, 6 yard pass patterns. And obviously the quarterback was hot that night, 36 out of 39, and and but we couldn't seem to really change the pass coverage in any way. And I'm sure the three cornerbacks that we have obviously entered into that decision to not give up anything deep. But still, you look at it, 31-17 is not a score that it seemed like there was 60-0 out there a lot looking at that game. And I think our offensive line maybe got exposed a little bit in that game. So I'm looking for a great rebound this week and to just kind of tune it up and get the extra notch going and because Tennessee's going to put some pressure on us.
They're going to score some points.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Chris, I thought one of the things about the UK offense all year is that when Will Levis looks good, the Cats look good. When he doesn't look good, they kind of look like they did Saturday night.
Well, Bob made a great point. 31-17 is the score. We can debate whether the touchdown that made it 31 that gave State their 31, the touchdown that got them to 31 was really a touchdown or not. I think he did not catch the ball in the end zone, but they didn't review, so be it. But you also think we had 2 turnovers deep, and I think the complexion of that game is different if you go in 14-13 in the halftime. And if you look, State came up and put up their 17 points in the third quarter. And, you get that, and then you don't get Levis, like you said, Todd, made some bad decisions. Wandale was wide open if he makes the right look, and they were just not on the same page. So now you're talking that game really potentially if the call is made 24-24 going into the fourth quarter, and it's a different ball game. Not to mention that Chris Rodriguez, I don't know what's going on with him, Bob, but he continues to fumble the football.
Well, apparently he's been injured, Chris, from what I've been able to read on KSR, but apparently everything he's healed and gotten better and looking for a big night this coming Saturday night. But back to a point you made in that touchdown pass that was their final score, you could see the UK cornerback just immediately signaling no catch, and I didn't get to see the replay on television on that particular catch, but I understand I could see the ball bobble as it went down, and I don't know whether the ball landed on the ground and the kid got his hands underneath it or what, but something like that. I don't know who makes the decision to review that play, whether it has to come from the sideline or whether the white hat goes over, because nobody seemed to want to look at that play again.
I thought all scoring plays were reviewed.
Yeah, it looked like the ball hit the ground on the play, but for whatever reason, they didn't look at it. Kentucky, though, got to get some offensive things figured out maybe for this week against Tennessee. We'll continue to talk about this. Need to get to another break here on the show real quick, but we'll continue here on the Sideline Report at 1580, 103.3 WPKY.
Your WPKY Weather Edge Weather Center forecast is brought to you by Armory Gun Shop.
From the Weather Edge Weather Center, freeze warning in effect until 9 o'clock this morning. Frost around the area, otherwise sunshine today with a high 53. Clear skies tonight, low 27, 56 and sunshine for Friday, 60 and sunshine on Saturday. Once again, that freeze warning in effect until 9 o'clock this morning for the entire area. Frost around the area, then sunshine with a high near 53.
Trice Hughes has been serving Western Kentucky for over 60 years. Their experienced sales force, ASE certified techs, and all the friendly folks at Trice Hughes have worked to become your family's exclusive automotive dealer. The home team that's kept our families safe on the road for generations. From work to play and everything in between, your home team has what you need. Stop by and drive the difference. Our home team, Trice Hughes, Highway 91 North in Princeton.
West Kentucky Real Estate and Auction holds monthly auctions at the Auction Center on U.S. Highway 62 in Princeton, in the former Hancock's grocery store. Be sure to check their website for dates and times and listings of auctions and days at the Auction Center. WestKentuckyRealEstate.com has all of their upcoming auctions listed. If you would like to have an auction or would like to find out how to consign at an auction, contact West Kentucky Real Estate and Auction. Wayne Boyd, broker auctioneer.
Back on the Sideline Report at 1580, 103.3 WPKY, Princeton, Kentucky. Todd Griffin with Bob Hayes and Chris George on the show this morning. And guys, we were talking about UK football, and Chris, you said Mississippi State's kind of one of those sneaky good teams that kind of sneak up on you. Tennessee kind of looks that way to me coming in to Kroger Field this Saturday.
I think so. They are a quality ball club. Cats fans are familiar with Hendon Hooker, who was a Virginia Tech's quarterback, played them in the Belt Bowl a couple of years ago. He typically running quarterbacks like Hendon Hooker give the Cats trouble. So I'm expecting Tennessee to come in there and really want to get that W, but this is a big game for the Cats Saturday to keep their very slim New Year's Six Bowl hopes alive. Some things shake out their way, I said, and Bob knows my guys, Joey Randolph and Mike Fields. He's been on a road trip with us, so he knows how we love UK football. So we've been discussing it all week. And, we still got some slim Sugar Bowl dreams, but a lot of things got to go our way. But this game for me this week, guys, really could be the difference in maybe getting a Florida Bowl, a Citrus Bowl, or an Outback Bowl, or ending up in a Duke's Mayo Bowl or a Music City Bowl. The Cats really got to get this W Saturday.
Well, a big game for the Cats. You talk about the loss down at Mississippi State. It came on the heels of the Georgia loss, and, they had that extra week in there, and Kentucky teams typically don't do well after that bye week. And always during the course of the season, it seems like in the SEC there's that one game you play where you're just not up to par for whatever reason, especially you go on the road someplace and you lose a game that maybe you think, hey, we shouldn't have lost that game. And, Bob, I kind of thought that Mississippi State game looked like that, even from back at the first of the season. That it just kind of seemed like a trap game where it was, and it's just one of those games where somewhere along the way in the SEC you're going to get tripped up.
Exactly, Chris. And in that game, I think we were up 10-0, having returned a punt, which we almost never do for a touchdown. He hits his first 9, 10, 11 passes in a row, and I don't feel good. I said, when's this guy ever going to miss? I mean, everything was right to his receiver. His receiver had 2 or 3 yards to maneuver in after he made the catch. But a question I want to ask Gary. Gary, are you going to be in Lexington tomorrow, Saturday night?
I'm planning on being there. I don't get back home till Friday. Got to leave again on Sunday. But, yeah, I'm 75-25. I think the guys would probably kill me if I didn't show up. But we'll see. Are you going?